The warning no one is talking about. Something is happening right now, and most people don't even realize it. Jesus gave a warning, not about war, not about disasters, not even about persecution, but about something far more dangerous, something that, if lost, could quietly disqualify you before the finish line. And here's the terrifying part. You can lose it and still think you're doing everything right. You can pray, go to church, watch sermons, and still lose the one thing Jesus said matters most. Tonight, we're uncovering what that is. And before this video ends, you may realize you've been closer to losing it than you ever imagined. A chilling verse most ignore. There's a verse hidden in plain sight. Most people read it and move on. But when you slow down, it becomes terrifying. Jesus said, "I have this against you. You have left your first love." Not lost by accident, not taken from you. You left it. Why would Jesus say this to believers? And more importantly, how does someone walk away from something without even realizing it? The dangerous illusion. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. The people Jesus warned were not sinners. They were active, disciplined, committed. They were doing everything right. And yet, something was missing, something invisible, but essential. Which raises a dangerous question. What if activity can hide emptiness? The silent drift. No one wakes up one day and says, "I'm going to lose my connection with God today." It doesn't happen like that. It's slower, quieter, a drift. And the scariest part, it feels normal. Until one day, you realize something is gone. What was first love? First love wasn't routine. It wasn't obligation. It was fire, passion, a hunger you couldn't explain. Remember when you wanted to pray not because you had to, but because you needed to? That's what's at risk. And Jesus didn't suggest protecting it. He warned. Why this matters in the last days. Jesus didn't randomly mention this. This warning becomes critical in the last days because distractions multiply, voices get louder, fear increases, and slowly your attention shifts. The enemy's quiet strategy. What if the enemy doesn't need to destroy you, just distract you, not attack your faith directly, but slowly drain your passion? Because if your fire dies, you won't notice when you're drifting, busy, but empty. You can be busy in God's work and still be far from His heart. That's the trap. Doing replaces being. Serving replaces intimacy. And slowly, you forget why you started. The lamp and the oil. Jesus told another story about lamps and oil. At first it seems unrelated, but it's not. Because what if the oil in that story is directly connected to your first love? We'll come back to this, but when you see it, everything changes. Why people don't notice? Because the shift is internal. No alarm, no warning sign, just a quiet fading, like a fire slowly turning to ash. The moment you stop feeling, there comes a moment when you stop feeling conviction the same way. Not because God stopped speaking, but because something inside you changed. And that moment is more dangerous than any external attack. When God feels distant, people often say, God feels far. But what if He didn't move? What if something else did? The truth about spiritual dryness. Dryness isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's a signal, a warning. Something has shifted, and if ignored, it deepens. The warning becomes personal. This is where it stops being theory and becomes personal. Because right now, you might be asking yourself, have I lost it? Don't answer yet. Because the next part will reveal something most people miss. The hidden connection revealed. Remember the oil? Here's the connection. The oil represents readiness. But readiness doesn't come from effort. It comes from relationship, and relationship is fueled by love. Without love, the oil runs dry. You can't manufacture oil, you can't borrow it, and you definitely can't fake it. Without love, the oil fades, and when the moment comes, you're unprepared. The 5 who were not ready. Half were ready, half were not. They all looked the same, until the moment came. And that's what makes this terrifying. Appearance versus reality. From the outside, everyone looked prepared, but internally, some were empty, and that's the danger today. The closed door. There's a moment in that story when the door closes and something shocking is said. We'll come back to that line because it might be the most misunderstood warning Jesus ever gave. Why this message is urgent, because time doesn't announce itself. Moments don't come with warnings, and if your fire is gone, you won't be ready when it matters most. The subtle replacements. We replace love with knowledge, presence with performance, connection with content, and slowly we lose what matters most. The noise of the world noise is constant now, endless, and it's not just distracting, it's numbing. The heart hardens quietly, not instantly, but gradually, layer by layer, until one day you don't respond the same way anymore. The most dangerous state. Not hatred, not rebellion, but indifference, because indifference feels safe. The moment of realization. There comes a moment when something inside you whispers, "This isn't how it used to feel." That moment is a gift. What Jesus said to do. Jesus didn't just warn, he gave a solution. Remember, return, restore. But why those 3? Remember, go back. Not physically, but internally. Remember how it felt. Return not to religion, not to routine, but to relationship. Restore. This is where it becomes real, because restoration requires action, not effort, but intention. The 5-minute reset. Start small, 5 minutes, no noise, no requests, just presence. Why this works? Because love grows in stillness, not chaos, not performance, but connection. The shift begins. Something changes when you make space, not instantly, but gradually. The fire returns, not all at once, but slowly, like embers reigniting. The difference you'll feel: clarity, peace, awareness. Things begin to shift. The door warning revealed. Remember the closed door? Here's what was said. "I never knew you." Not "you didn't work," not "you didn't try," but "I didn't know you." This changes everything, because it was never about activity. It was about relationship. And relationship requires love. The final question. If everything stopped today, would your connection still be real, or would it collapse without structure? The urgency of now. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, because you still have time, but time is moving. Your decision. Right now, you can ignore this or respond, but one leads to drift, the other to restoration. If something in you is waking up right now, don't scroll, don't delay. Type this in the comments: "My heart is his." Make it real, make it intentional, because in the last days, the most dangerous thing you can lose is the one thing that keeps everything alive, and most people won't realize it until it's gone.